It's strange how easily we convince ourselves that pretending is surviving. For years I wore a mask, a carefully crafted version of myself designed to blend in, to belong. At first, it felt necessary, almost harmless. Just a little tweak here, a small adjustment there, nothing drastic. But over time, those tweaks became layers, and those layers hardened into something unrecognizable. Tonight, I want to peel back the mask, to confront the person I became in order to fit in. Because somewhere along the way, I lost sight of who I really am. And maybe, just maybe, speaking these words aloud will help me find him again. High school was where it all began, the first time I realized I didn't fit in. While others seemed to glide effortlessly through life, I stumbled, tripping over my own insecurities. I wasn't athletic, funny, or cool enough to earn a spot in any clique. So I watched from the sidelines, observing the in-crowd with envy. They had this aura of invincibility, like nothing could touch them. And I wanted that more than anything, to be one of them, to feel untouchable too. That desire planted the seed for the mask I'd eventually wear. Back then, it was innocent admiration, but it quickly grew into something darker, a desperate need to transform myself into someone I thought people would accept. By the time college rolled around, I decided to take control. No more sitting on the sidelines. I was going to reinvent myself. I spent hours researching what made people likable, studying social dynamics like a scientist dissecting an experiment. I created lists of behaviors to emulate: laugh louder, speak with authority, never admit uncertainty. I memorized sports statistics so I could contribute to conversations, even though I couldn't care less about touchdowns or free throws. It was exhausting, yes, but also exhilarating. For the first time, I felt like I was cracking the code to acceptance. Slowly, I started gaining traction. People noticed me. Not the real me, of course, but the version I'd meticulously constructed. And honestly, it felt amazing, until it didn't. The cracks started showing sooner than I expected. At a party during my sophomore year, I found myself surrounded by new friends, or at least people who tolerated my presence. Someone told a joke, and everyone erupted into laughter. I joined in reflexively, forcing my laugh to match theirs. But then, one of them turned to me and asked, "What's so funny?" My mind went blank. I hadn't actually heard the punchline. I was too busy performing. Panic set in as I scrambled for an answer, mumbling something vague that barely passed muster. Thankfully, the moment passed without further scrutiny, but it left me shaken. That night, I stared at myself in the mirror, wondering how long I could keep up the act before someone saw through the facade. Living a double life became my norm. There was the private me, the one who collapsed onto the couch after a long day, exhausted from maintaining the charade. And then there was the public me, the polished, charismatic persona who commanded attention and approval. Switching between the two felt like flipping a switch, except the transitions grew harder with each passing day. Alone, I questioned whether anyone would ever truly know me. In public, I feared that if they did, they'd reject me. The weight of carrying both identities was crushing, yet I couldn't imagine stepping away from either. Each version of me served a purpose, but neither felt authentic. Belonging came at a cost, one I didn't fully grasp until it was too late. Sure, I had friends now, invitations to parties, and nods of approval from colleagues, but none of it filled the void inside me. If anything, it widened it. Scrolling through social media only amplified the emptiness. Everyone else seemed genuinely happy, their lives unfolding effortlessly. Meanwhile, I felt like a fraud, constantly afraid of being exposed. The energy required to maintain the illusion left little room for joy or fulfillment. Success, friendships, accolades, they all rang hollow because they weren't built on truth. I'd sacrificed my identity for acceptance, and the price tag was higher than I bargained for. The breaking point came unexpectedly, at work, of all places. By then, I'd carried the mask into every aspect of my life, including my career. During a team meeting, I was asked to present an idea I hadn't prepared for. Normally, I'd fake confidence, bluffing my way through with rehearsed phrases and forced smiles. But this time I froze. Words caught in my throat, my palms slick with sweat. As silence stretched painfully, I could feel eyes boring into me, judging, questioning. In that moment, the walls I'd built around myself crumbled. I realized I couldn't keep pretending, not when the pressure threatened to consume me whole. After the meeting, I locked myself in the bathroom, shaking uncontrollably. The mask had finally fallen, and I didn't know how to pick it up again. Therapy saved me, or at least it gave me the tools to start saving myself. Sitting in that cozy office, I finally admitted the truth out loud. I hated the person I'd become. Rebuilding connections meant starting over, not just with others, but with myself. I reached out to old friends, apologizing for the distance my deception had created. To my surprise, many welcomed me back with open arms, admitting they'd always sensed something off but didn't know how to address it. Together, we worked to rebuild trust, sharing stories and laughter that felt real for the first time in years. These moments reminded me that true connection doesn't require perfection, it requires vulnerability. Step by step, I redefined my relationships, choosing quality over quantity, honesty over performance. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. Today I carry this mask not as a shield, but as a reminder of the journey I've taken, the lessons I've learned, and the person I'm still becoming. Walking this beach, I feel lighter somehow, free from the need to pretend, to conform, to chase validation at the expense of my soul. Embracing authenticity doesn't mean I've stopped growing or evolving. It means I'm doing so on my terms as myself. The scars remain, yes, but they're part of my story now. And maybe, just maybe, sharing this confession will inspire someone else to take off their mask too. Thank you for listening to my story.